Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Thom the Tabletop Guy for a game of Fear the Taste of Blood. Fear the Taste of Blood by Ratwave Gamehouse is a role-playing game for 1 to 3 players about a monster in the night and the survivors who face it. It is inspired by classic movie monsters like towering aristocratic vampires, frightful werewolves, constructed creatures, invisible fiends, and mechanically it follows the same rhythm and structure as a game of Anyone Can Wear the Mask or Beyond the Rift, both of which are games that are, unsurprisingly, extraordinarily important to me. This game is so cool and so unbelievably evocative and fun, and it takes those mechanics and it does really fun and interesting things for them. Throughout play, you record the attacks of the monsters, how the survivors try to fight back and deal with the horror that they're facing. The game is amazing. I could talk about how much fun I had with this game and like how cool it is to like watch the mechanics of this game and play for hours. I will not subject you to that. All I will say is this game rips. I adore it. And you should go to ratwavegamehouse.itch.io or check the show notes to pick up your own copy. Thom is an improviser, an actor, a podcaster, a TTRPG enthusiast. You can hear him on shows such as Otherwhere or Green Mountain Mysteries, which is a Dresden Files RPG actual play podcast. You can find more information on everything that Thom is working on in the show notes. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited to be sitting down with Thom. Thom, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
I am honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So at the top of our episode, before we get into the game that we are playing and why we are so excited about it, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
Alrighty, well, I'm Thom. You may have heard me on podcasts like Otherwhere, Green Mountain Mysteries. I have also been on Super Suits. I have my hands in a lot of podcast pies, and I'm always looking for more pies to stick them in. You also might find me, if you're ever looking to play a role-playing game, at Thom the Tabletop Guy. I have sites on Facebook, I have sites on Twitter, which I will still call it because I do not let Elon Musk rule my life, and at thomthetabletopguy.card.co.
Ah, fantastic. I am so excited for the game that we are playing this week. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to play it. This is going to be fantastic. We are playing Fear the Taste of Blood. This is a 3-player role-playing game about classic movie monsters in the vein of my beloved Universal movie monsters, my Draculas and my Frankensteins and my Wolfsman. This is my jam. So let me ask you, like, how are you feeling? Talk to me about what you're excited about. What's your feeling of the genre of this sort of like classic movie monster?
So, first of all, I really like the look of this game. It seems like it's based off of another game that I've heard of, maybe a little.
It's it's based on some game called Anyone Can Wear the Mask by some schlub. I don't remember who wrote that one, but he's probably fine.
Seems like a cool guy. But yeah, I actually was really late to the horror movie game. As a kid, I was terrified reading the back of horror movie jewel cases when I was standing in the movie rental section of my local supermarket. So needless to say, I kept looking at them and kept not going to sleep at night. And it took me until I watched movies like 28 Days Later and Alien to realize that horror doesn't have to just make me feel bad. It can also be really fun to watch. And since then, I've been picking up other movies. I haven't gone back to the Universal-style horror, unfortunately. But movies like the aforementioned Alien, 28 Days Later, the first Friday the 13th, those are all horror movies that I genuinely, legitimately enjoy. And, I mean, at time of recording, Halloween was just 2 days ago. The leaves are turning brown.
We did just have Halloween. It is the time of year for spooky horror stories.
You can see your breath when you walk outside. The leaves are turning brown with a delightfully scented decay. It's the time of year for terrible things.
It really is. I'm so excited. And I'm really glad that you kind of broke down what sort of like the horror genre that you're coming from, because I think there's going to be a fun contrast, because like I also came into horror through the back of VHS tapes and as I got older, Wikipedia articles. But like, I really specifically have always gravitated to like old, and like I love I love the Universal monsters specifically. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein. Like, there is an energy to old, campy, sometimes kind of trashy horror that I think really, like, I've heard it described as the cheap, strong stuff, and that is an energy that I think this game conjures really well, that I think also, like, I connect with, which is and then the other thing that I am excited that like really connects with me as I go through this is not a movie, but an ongoing comic book or a long-time comic book that really hits all of my buttons. Which is the 70s Tomb of Dracula comics.
Ooh.
Marvel Dracula, where he's got the goatee and sometimes he fights the X-Men. That's my shit. That's my vibe.
That's the Dracula Moon Knight keeps trying to get money out of.
It's truly, he will not give Moon Knight his money. And, like, I really fucking love old like, Marvel Dracula, where Blade is, like, a guy that can't quite get Dracula and is just mowing down every other vampire because he's mad. And there's all these other, like, deeply broken people becoming increasingly obsessed with just murdering Dracula. That's my vibe. And I realize
love that.
And I'm realizing increasingly as I read Dracula for the first time that that's actually just the vibe of the book Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Yeah, both of these can be summed up with the tagline, Dracula's, fuck 'em.
Fuck them. Yeah, Dracula's, they're going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. And that's really what we're doing here today. This is a 3-player role-playing game about a monster in the night and the survivors who face it. It is inspired by classic movie monsters, towering aristocratic vampires, frightful werewolves, constructed creatures, and invisible fiends. Throughout play, we are going to record the attacks of the monster, how survivors try to fight back and deal with the horror they're facing. We will draw cards, roll dice, pull cards from a deck, and make a living record of the monster and the people it threatens. So that's the vibe in a nutshell. One of us is going to be playing a monster in the very classic horror movie style, and the other is going to be playing a set of 4 survivors. We'll go through who each of those survivors are. They are represented by the 4 suits of a playing card deck, but and then together we will share the proverbial third role of the game, which is the night. The night is the setting, the locale, the world around us that is more frightening and unknowable than everyone realized until now. We will share this role, come up with places and scenes, and talk through the rule stuff that the night manages together as we go.
All right, that all sounds goddamn delightful. I gotta be honest, I'm really excited for this.
I'm so excited. This game fucking rips. Vibe-wise is great. I'm so stoked. Ratwave Gamehouse, Kayla Dice, this game are some of my favorite designers. Like, this is so far up my alley. It was a laser focused attack when it landed in my inbox, is truly how I feel. So we have an important question to answer.
Yes.
Would you like to play the monster, something strange and dangerous that's going to attack survivors in the night? Or would you like to play the survivors, 4 ordinary people who find themselves in grave danger, face to face with a monster from their worst fears?
So I'm very torn on that, because on one hand, I love leading into the bombast and the melodrama of the monster. It's why I game master as often as I do, because I love delivering monstrous villain monologues or just being all around spooky and bastard-like. But the idea of playing the survivors also really appeals to me. So I'm torn. I'm going to say dealer's choice. I'm going to let you pick which one you think will be more fun. I'm trying to decide if I have a strong hook for what I want a monster to be. I think that's kind of my vibe, is if I have a really good monster in mind, I'm gonna look around I'm gonna settle on playing the monster. I think that's my vibe, but I'm also just gonna look around my room for a moment and sort of decide what we'll get there. We've got some time because we've got to like make up the night and sort of like where our setting is, and I think that will tell me
what we want the monster to be. So
Mhm.
we'll go through all of our character creation, our setting the stage, so to speak. And we'll start by defining the night. This is the era and the locale and naming some places that might feature in our tale. There are some examples in the book. We're going to name an era, a locale, and at least 4 places. So we'll name like 2 or 3 places each.
All right. I am either in for present day or I'm in for 19th century. On one hand, 19th century does require a lot of me Googling things to see, does that exist yet? Can I have that? But it also just has such a nice aesthetic for this kind of monster thing.
It does. Here's the thing. I am down for what I will lovingly describe as a penny dreadful 19th century, and what I will more accurately describe as a penny century where I don't have to Google shit.
You know what? Yeah, that's what I'm digging. That's what I'm going for here.
Pseudo modern 19th century is the vibe that really speaks to me. If we want to pull from the modern cinematic classic LXG, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and drop a sports car into the 19th century, we can do that.
I've only read the comic book. There's a sports car in the movie?
Yeah, they roll out a sports car.
Oh my God.
It's really funny.
And people didn't like this movie?
The movie is so uniquely bad that, like, it lives in my memory. It is a genuine mess, and no one seems to be having fun with it. But also that, to me, like, it holds a special place in my heart because it truly is like a rancid movie.
Oh my God. I need to see it just to compare now, and
they add Dorian Gray just to make him Wolverine. Like, it's everything in this movie is Sean Connery is explicitly there because he is quoted as saying, "They offered me Lord of the Rings and I turned it down because I didn't get it. They offered me The Matrix and I turned it down because I didn't get it. I didn't get League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I'm not going to turn this one down."
Oh, Sean, buddy.
It's an all-time great fucking quote, and that's the energy of the movie.
Tom Sawyer, we've got to kill some Draculas. Get in the back of my Winnebago.
Truly, you're not far off, is the thing. So, what are we thinking for a locale? We've got a historic city, a rural village. These are just suggestions. We can pull on whatever we want, but like a harbor town, a countryside town.
I do like the idea of a quiet harbor town.
I do too. I'm always pulled towards a harbor deep down in my heart.
Well, I live in Maine, so harbors are immediately very evocative of things that I haven't seen and experienced. And also, it brings such great visuals for this kind of horror because you have like the moon shining off of the ocean. You have the mist coming in off the harbor, wreathing the town in this sort of a cloak.
Yeah.
It has such good vibes.
I think that's the way to go. So, with that, we're going to pick 4 places. We're in a quiet harbor town in some version of the 19th century that never existed. What are some places that we think are essential? I mean, I want to throw in a detail about the harbor immediately. I think this is an industrial harbor port is what I think is what we're looking at, more so than like small town fishermen, in part because, the ports that I see, the ports that pop into mind are the ones around me in Philadelphia. And so like, I picture like big shipping docks, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And I think like, I like the contrast of a quiet harbor town that also has like a big industrial dock is very compelling to me.
Yeah, no, that's not that far off from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, honestly, which is again right down the road from me, because Portsmouth is this quaint little seaside town. It's got, these It's got like this one downtown area with like 5 theaters in it, brick buildings, a bunch of restaurants. It's like you can walk from one end of town to the other in like 15 minutes, and it's just this lovely little town. And then just across the river at the mouth of the harbor is a military shipyard that is projecting this constant orange glow into the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. That's a good energy. That's a good energy. What's our next location?
I am thinking probably a hospital. Just because hospitals are so rich for this kind of thing and 19th century hospitals are especially creepy.
Yep. I really love, I've got to throw in a greasy spoon. Here's what I'm going to say is there is a greasy spoon, like, tavern. It's somewhere between a tavern and, like, a greasy spoon diner that like, is primarily, like, in between our dock and our hospital, and it serves... Because, like, if we've got a hospital, that's a 24-hour establishment. If we've got a dock, that's a 24-hour establishment. Something about, like, a place that specializes in... effectively a midnight diner, as seen in my beloved TV show Midnight Diner, that is specializing in like people like night workers is very compelling to me. So like a quiet city block diner where you can get a bowl of stew and a drink. Yeah,
at like 4 a.m. that's when a bunch of the doctors come off shift, and when a bunch of when dock workers go on shift. So you have like just it's full of like people in like medical coats, and full of also guys in greasy overalls, just sort of nodding at each other with recognition every morning as they order their either mug of alcohol to wash away the exhaustion of dealing with medical patients, or a bowl of something strong and full of protein to get them through another day at the docks.
Yeah, that feels good. That's a good energy.
Yeah.
So what's our last... We can add more places as we go, but what's our last starting location for our quiet harbor town?
I have a thought on that. I think... So, Moors, that's
like swampland, right?
Yeah,
that's like...
I think Moors would be good. Because like we could easily have that be like the estuaries and the marshlands, because we're right on the ocean. There could be a large stretch of fly and mosquito infested marshlands that occasionally people go and hunt in. People, sometimes kids will go mud fishing there, and their parents are always like, "Don't go out there at night. You don't know what lives in those moors, son."
I really like that. That's a good vibe. That's a good energy. So with that, we're going to make our monster. Now we can kind of dig in and start to make the monster. Discuss their origin, their motivation, their monstrosity. So our origin, we've got some options for each. I'm thinking about the space that we're in. I really like... You in describing marshlands and estuaries, like, I think I know what I want to pull in. I think I've got it. I think I finally have it.
Am I reading some Black Lagoon vibes here?
A little bit. I think I'm making a crocodile man.
Yes! I'm delighted.
I think this is straight up a crocodile man. As for the origin, I think, I don't want it to be an ancient creature. I'm thinking,
if this is a crocodile man, this means we're probably down south. So that means I'm going to have to put on my southern gentry voice.
That's the thing. Like, if it's not, that equally is very good.
Yeah, so
like, if we're
have like the Boston crocodile man who's like, you don't want to go mess with no crocodile man out there, son.
Don't go mess with the crocodile man.
Yeah. Or if you're down south, like, now, boys, I told you, there's a crocodile man out in them there swamps. And if you go out there, he's going to bite your knees off.
Crocodile man is a afterlife. Like, the afterlife is an option here. And, okay, now I've got my Now I've kind of got my hook here. Okay.
Ooh.
We're cooking now. Now we're cooking with gas.
So afterlife. You mean like someone died in the swamp and came back?
Someone died in the swamp and
wrong.
came back as the Crocodile Man.
Yes.
And specifically, I think this is it revenge? Is it control? Or is it rampage? So I'm envisioning.
You go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Please give me your thoughts, because like it's starting to cook.
Revenge seems like it could be a really good hook for a monster that died in the swamp and came back wrong. Like since we have 4 survivors, like 5 people went out into the swamp, 4 came back, and they're just like, we don't know what happened to him, but they definitely know what happened to him. They left him there to die, and or whether on purpose or on accident. And now he's coming back as a Crocodile Man to blame them for it.
That feels like a good vibe. I think revenge is the vibe that gives us a little bit of direction as we get into our survivors. And I think what I'm going to pull on specifically is a little bit of this is a good DC Comics The Spectre style horrible ironic punishment situation. I think that this is a former big game hunter who died in the swamp and has turned into the very beasts that he once hunted.
Oh my god. So Kraven the Crocodile Man.
Kraven the Crocodile Man is very much like if Kraven died in the swamp and has been cursed to being a giant crocodile man. That feels very good to me.
Final hunt, and you will die between the jaws of Kraven the Crocodile Man.
That feels good. That feels good. I also recognize that there is a period where Kraven was a crocodile man.
Oh my god, like, is there?
Yeah,
his comics is buck wild.
His wife turns him into a crocodile man at one point. It's a whole complicated thing. The 90s were a great time for superhero comics.
But indisputably.
I think it is. I think this is where we're at. It is absolutely like Murdered in the Swamp. I'm not married to Big Game Hunter. We'll kind of play it by ear. I'm going to leave what the actual story is up in the air a little bit. We'll leave that vague. But I like a crocodile man monster from the swamp. And the thing that I will throw in that we'll really explore and play is I learned about how crocodiles hunt recently, and it rules.
Oh, I would love for you to elaborate for the folks at home.
I might be, if I am wrong about this, if it is alligators that hunt this way, or I am fully just making shit up, feel free, do not at me, is my disclaimer.
Tweet at not Jeff Stormer at twitter.com.
No, don't tweet at that. That's my alt account. Do not tweet at that account. Tweet, like, here's the thing. If I'm wrong about this, tweet at Critical Role to tell me that I am wrong.
Absolutely.
Crocodiles, if I remember correctly, are endurance hunters. They just kind of like wait for you to get tired. And that energy in a monster is very compelling. Like, I'm not chasing you. I am following you until you slip up and then pouncing.
Ooh, that also has like a classic slasher movie vibe.
Kind of like, a slasher vibe. Yeah. That's kind of the vibe. Like, and that's, I think, where the energy is.
It's never more of a pace than a power walk while you're sprinting away. And no matter how far you run and how panicked you are, you turn around, it is always behind you, just observing and keeping pace.
Yeah, that's the vibe. That's the vibe in a nutshell. Okay, we've got our monster, the Crocodile Man. Now we're going to meet our survivors. We have 4 survivors. Each one matches to the suits of a playing card. You get what you understand words.
Yeah.
We're going to walk through them piece by piece. We're going to give them some very basic details, a name, pronoun, a few basic like 2 or 3 basic details. We'll flesh out more in play, but like enough to kind of get a handle on their personality, biographical facts, that sort of thing. The game recommends like 3 details each, and we'll kind of walk through them. Do we want to just start at the top of the list and work our way down?
Yeah. I actually already have an idea for the witness, which is, I think her name is going to be Marie. And she's a waitress on the night shift at the Greasy Spoon. And she, while there, witnesses probably like the first attack of the monster, or like someone stumbles through the door during a quiet hour at the restaurant covered in blood. And she just sees this shape outside watching this person.
Give me a little bit. What pops into your head for Marie's personality?
Marie is the kind of person at this restaurant who is everyone's favorite because they always feel like she's my confidant, she's my friend, because she will always listen and then compartmentalize everything so that if she looks at your face, she'll like flip through her mental Rolodex and go, right, this guy, this thing. But as soon as she's home, she doesn't remember any of it.
Okay, that's good. That's a good angle. I think that's good to start with. So let's talk about a target. The monster wants something from you. Perhaps you remind them of something. Perhaps you seem valuable enough. Perhaps it's deeper than that. Maybe it's all too shallow. It doesn't change the fact that you are a target. What pops into your mind for the target?
I think this fella's name is going to be Gerard. I think he was in the swamp the night whatever happened to him went down. Gerard is probably a dock worker and like a hobbyist hunter, who has been known to go out and like try and find deer or other game in the moors, in the marshlands, or fowl, whatever. But he hasn't been going out recently. People aren't sure why, and he doesn't want to talk about it.
Like that. Talk to me about, next up is the sleuth. You found something about the monster. It's just a thread. You're not sure what you believe about it, but you can't stop yourself from seeing how far it goes. The truth is out there.
So, the monster was a man once, we've established, and is now incorrect. I think maybe, this person looking for them is a private detective who found a shed skin from the monster in the swamp. Was just like, I don't know where this guy is, but they said he was in the marsh and just is out there every couple nights looking, and then one night finds this massive shredded shed skin and is just, what the absolute fuck does this belong to?
That feels really good. Do we have a name for our private detective?
I'm going to... I don't know why this is where my instinct is going, but I'm probably gonna name this hunter after my friend Siobhan. Siobhan, who you can hear on Otherwhere and Someplace to Be. Fantastic podcaster, huge fan of hers. But yeah, Siobhan is a private detective who is hunting, who doesn't realize she's hunting this monster, but is hunting this monster.
Love that. And we have an expert. You know things. Your knowledge is strange and perhaps scoffed at. You might carry a family secret, be a learned academic or an obsessed theorist. Your expertise in the strange and the bizarre will come to face the truly monstrous.
I had nothing, and then I just followed my gut and let my fingers just type a name. And the name that came up is Old Man Bjornson. Old Man Bjornson's just this kind of guy who is the one who at like the town get-togethers is always the one sitting by one of the campfires with kids around him, like, tell us a story about the monster again. And he's like, now, it's not a story. It's a record of historical fact, child. These lands are cursed, and those who are claimed by them will come back to claim yet more.
That feels good. I like that. That's great.
An old man who is hip to the superstition of the area.
That feels good. That feels great. Okay. So here's how, now with that, we've got our night, we've got our location, we've got our survivors, we've got our monster. Now we're going to play through the game. We're going to start by drawing 5 cards. We'll just, because we're sharing this role, we'll draw them publicly. We'll set them out here.
All right.
We've got 5 cards for the knight. The knight, each turn will have the knight play a card to determine the scene that is played. The survivor's player will also draw and play a card from the top of the deck, the suit of which determines the spotlighted survivor.
All right, we're going to flip this card. Got me a 10 of spades.
Let's see. What card do we want? I mean, we've got the 8 of hearts, the 5 of diamonds, the ace of clubs, which is cool because that's going to be a climactic scene. So that's good for us to have in hand because it means that we can set a climax whenever we want in the episode. And that's a good touch.
Yes.
We've got the 6 of clubs and the 4 of spades. I'm going to roll. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside our ace because we're going to want to use it in case we want to a cliffhanger.
Our ace in the hole, if you will.
Aha, I see what you did there. I'm going to roll a d4. 4. That's how we'll do this. The 4 of spades.
Excellent.
So, we have determined the scene in question, and that is a dangerous scene. Here, the monster threatens the safety of the survivors' lives in some way, or when the story has kicked into gear, this is where the survivors try to fight back against the monster who will lash out against them viciously.
All right. So, I think this is a good start. And clubs means spades means it's our crazy old man, yes?
Yes, this means it's Old Man Bjornsson.
Old Man Bjornsson, hey.
So, we will begin with the knight describing with appropriate gravitas the location of the scene, Riak. So where do we start?
I say it's probably pretty late evening in our portside town in New England, Georgia.
Sure.
We see as the mist reads the streets, as this makes the gaslights have an almost halo around them. We see Old Man Bjornsson walking down the streets for reasons that we might not understand yet. This is an old man, stooped with age. He's got a long white beard, has his head in like a newsboy cap, wearing a long peacoat. He's walking down the streets, leaning on a walking stick, just sort of muttering to himself, just, cool air's terrible for my joints. And one of these days, you're gonna slip and fall on these streets, and that'll be the end of it.
And so I think as you are walking down the street alone at night, you are in your element, right? And I think in Old Man Bjornsson's element feels like it's just by himself mumbling. That feels like maybe it's his element.
This is very much my element, is just walking around and muttering cryptic warnings.
And as you are walking, I think there is a moment where there is, from around a corner, down an alleyway, down by the water, splashing and blood-curdling screams. It is, the sound of rending flesh. Like, it is violent, but the thing that's noteworthy is it's also quick. Like, it is, scream, yell, rip, tear, thrash, splash, crash. Things fall into the water. Dead quiet.
Old Man Bjornsson hesitates for a moment and just stops and takes a deep sniff of the air and just, oh, that's fresh blood, all right. Fresh blood and sulfur. Something's from the swamp. And he's gonna sort of hustle down to take a peek around the corner and see what has happened and if he can catch sight of what has crawled out of the swamps.
I have rolled my d6, so I start with 1 because you're in your element. You're by yourself. This is I am alone. I am not necessarily because I am focused on someone else. I'm going to roll 1d6. I have rolled a 1. I am able to horrify the survivors, but there's a cost. I am injured. How do you injure? There is a fight with the crocodile man. How do you come out on top?
So the way I'm seeing this, if I might paint a picture here.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I take a little bit of narrative liberty with the crocodile man himself? So as Old Man Bjornsson rounds the corner, holding his lantern high in front of him, we see the crocodile man, on the ground, almost wrestling his victim and doing this...
Doing crocodile rolls,
yeah. Doing a death roll and just snapping this person's increasingly limp body and slamming it against the ground with his jaws locked firmly around their neck and shoulders. And Old Man Bjornsson, for a moment, again, hesitates. And just, "You didn't get this old from running away from a damn monster, Bjornsson." And he's going to sort of smack his cane on the ground and just, "Away with ye! Away with ye, damned thing!" And then throw his lantern at it, and just the lantern's going to shatter, and the oil's going to spill, and fire will light up this monster.
It lights up. The monster is wounded, but like leaps back into the water, half of this body in tow, right? Like
Yep.
it is the Crocodile Man. He is not going to fight for this kill. But like does tear the body in half and drags, and you see the bubbling blood and chunks of flesh like floating as you see bits of oil fire bubble up through the water. Slinks away into the night. You have 0 damage, so you can shuffle one of these 2 cards. If you'd like, you can shuffle one of these 2 cards back into the deck. You don't have to though. But right now, yeah, you have scared off the thing, and the thing that you notice is this is what is a good name? This is Vinny Truck. Vinny Truck is a local loan shark. Not exactly a beloved figure, kind of one of the sorts to be walking around at 3 a.m. has been ambushed, torn to pieces, and left dead in the street, with only Old Man Bjornsson to find the body.
Yeah, Old Man Bjornsson closes the horrified eyes of Vinny Truck and just, "God rest your soul, but with all due respect, couldn't have happened to a nicer man, you son of a bitch."
And with that, our scene ends. Let me make sure that there's anything else that we need to do. We rolled the dice. We did not have any damage listed, so we don't need to add any damage. There was no destruction. And so, yeah, that's the end of our scene. So we, I'm going to roll my 4-sided dice. We are pulling the 2 of spades, which is another dangerous scene.
Ooh. Danger. Crocodile Man.
Crocodile Man. All right, pull us the top card to find out which of your 4 protagonists are wrapped up here.
We got the Jack of Clubs, and with clubs, that's gonna mean that's our sleuth.
All right. Then after the scene, because you drew a face card after the scene, I'm going to take the knight is going to take that into their hand after the scene. So actually we'll shuffle this back in because I'm supposed to, I think I pull that Jack instead of drawing a card. Okay, so we've got our sleuth on the scene. This is a closed off crime scene after the fact, right? We're looking at the body of Vinny Truck. We're looking at the murder here. And as a private detective, Siobhan is not really welcome on the crime scene. And I'm going to ask you, why is that? Why is there such specific animosity from the local cops towards Siobhan at this crime scene?
So, to set the scene with our plucky detective Siobhan, Siobhan is wearing a pork pie hat and men's formal attire, and is carrying a revolver on her hip, and is just mostly getting by on pluck and determination. And the local cops, since this is the 19th century, are like, "Why the hell are we letting a woman do our work? This is our job, damn it. We're not going to let some woman hobbyist do our detective work. Go back home and read your books or something." So I'm going to say sexism and is probably the main reason why there's some animosity towards our detective.
Sexism, and a mix of sexism and ACAB. That feels like a good angle to play off of. All right. So this is the crime scene is there. The cops are uncooperative, as cops always are. And Siobhan, you are studying this scene. You see the trail of blood and muck of the body of Vinny Truck into the water. And I think you notice something that maybe no one else does. And that is, there is a great deal of debris, but like natural debris from the river, like river weed and branches and things strewn about. Like, this is a back alley. This is, maybe half a block from the water. So like you wouldn't really get seaweed and river weed and all of this kind of like silt and branches and things wouldn't be strewn about in this way.
Yeah, there's just clumps of muck in almost like a footprint style shape just running down this alley towards the water. And Siobhan is just looking at that, and her brain is turning over. Because she was preparing to go out into the swamp again tonight and try and see if there's any more traces of what might have happened to our missing man. I think we're gonna call him Fred. Fred seems like a good generic name. Fred or Frederick. Anyway, she was going out there, and then she realizes part of the swamp has come here, and does this have something to do with? No, that can't be right. That's nonsense. That's an insane logical leap. But why is my mind tugging at this?
Like, as two of the cops carelessly turn their back towards you, you sit and think about it for a moment. And I'm going to ask you as I roll 3 dice, because you having drawn the 2 of diamonds and you having drawn the jack of clubs, there is no match between our 2 cards, which means you are not safe here and are acutely aware of that fact. And so I'm going to roll 3 dice.
Ooh.
So I'm going to ask you, what is it in Siobhan's background that lets her know as moments before crisis occurs that these random bits of river debris have not been strewn out randomly, but that you're looking at tactical camouflage?
That's a really good question. I think that since Siobhan grew up around here, probably we cut back to her as a kid in the swamp hunting for like some sort of like frog or something with her friends. And she's always like, no, hold on, guys, listen, there's nothing here. It's just a bunch of mud. She's like, no, hold on. You gotta watch, okay? If you look carefully at the mud, you can see, and part of the mud, there's like this little bubble that comes up, and she's like, slides her hand in there and grabs. She's like, there! You can see where he's breathing. That's exactly how you can always find these guys. And she just catches the frog and holds it above her head victoriously. We flash back to now where she sees in the mud, this spot in the mud where there's this gap, this hole, and that slight bubbles around it as she realizes those are nostrils. Something is breathing. And then immediately throws herself back and just yells at the cops, get back!
And as you, moments before you, as you yell that, I have rolled my 3d6. I have rolled a 4, a 4, and a 6. You try to fight back. It goes wrong, and I am inescapable. You make it out of the scene. Others are not so lucky. A life lost, a injury inflicted, a place destroyed. You yell, and a cop is grabbed by the throat, dragged into the water, and basically disemboweled in an instant. Another cop goes and tries to accidentally shoots a lantern. Let's up this even further. Shoots a lantern, which tells me even more about the monster, because this lantern was intentionally placed. Shoots the lantern, lights up some of these branches, which act as kindling. There is now a bird. This is now a bonfire in this back alley as the crocodile man lurches through the fire, grabs this other cop, throws them into the fire, and then disembowels them as well.
Um, this ain't no goddamn frog in a swamp, Siobhan realizes very quickly. And she has her gun aimed at it. I do have a question. Can another character be here, or is that a specific mechanic?
Yeah, you can put another character on the scene. Yeah.
So she is staggering back and holding the gun, and the gun's not shaking, but she's just like eyes wide, starting to hyperventilate a little, like, what do I do? And then she just hears behind her, "Run! Run, child, damn ye, run!" And she sees old man Bjornsson, and he just like hooks her with his cane and just like, "Guns aren't gonna make much difference against a hide that thick, lass. We gotta meet feet."
Yes, good, great. The two of you flee the scene. There is fire, there is blood, there is screams, and we can make a choice right now. Do we want to inflict a damage on our survivors, or do we want to cause destruction to the scene around us? I feel like there's ample ground for both in how badly that went down.
I'm very torn here, because I would love it for old man Bjornsson to take a bite, or for Siobhan to take a hit, but I also love this image of the fire spreading down and lighting some of the wooden docks up, and we just see through the fire the silhouette of this hulking crocodile man slowly rise to its full height, blood and gorge.
Dragging two bodies into the water.
Yeah, blood and gorge ripping from the long jaws as it just turns, looks at our two survivors over the fire, and lets out this deep rumbling growl. Because
that's destruction. That's what we're going with. Yeah. I think that's the vibe.
Crocodiles and gators have this bellow they do that is just this deep rumbling noise that can vibrate the water. And it's that, but magnified.
I love that. Okay, so that means that we're rolling destruction. So I have rolled my d6. I have rolled a 5, which means I'm taking half of that number, rounded up, so that's going to be 3, and I'm discarding these cards off of the top of the deck. Aha. So that is the 9 of diamonds, the 9 of hearts, and the 8 of hearts. As we work through this, basically, if an ace is discarded in this way, we skip right to a climactic scene. Okay, yeah, then we just continue to draw cards. If we discard an ace in this way, we skip right to a climactic scene, but right now we have thrown some cards away. We see our next scene is... I'm going to take this jack. Put this jack here. And I'm going to ask you before I roll randomly, do we want to roll randomly here? Or do we want to see, with a jack, we could have a vulnerable scene where a survivor meets with a trusted friend in a safe location and tends to their wounds?
I don't know if it's wounds, but I would love to have a brief scene of Siobhan and old man Bjornsson as they're getting away, sort of with Siobhan trying to process what she's seen.
I'm going to then propose that we hold on to our vulnerable scene.
All right.
We make this a dangerous scene and potentially bring in a member of our survivors, depending on which card you draw.
All right. And I'm going to draw now, and that's the Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds. I'm bad at cards.
Who is our Queen of Diamonds? That's our target.
That is our target, and that is our man Gerard.
I love that. I love it. Okay. Where then I have rolled randomly to draw one of these cards. It is the 6 of clubs. And that is not a match to the Queen of Diamonds at all, but that does mean that I will draw the Queen of Clubs after pick up the Queen of Clubs after this round. So that is not a match, which means the monster is in an unstoppable place when it emerges here. Where are Siobhan and Old Man Bjornsson having this conversation?
I think at this point they have gotten a few blocks away. And Siobhan, and they're heading. What were the locations we chose? Let me remember.
We have the greasy spoon. We have the hospital.
We have the moors, the docks, the greasy spoon, and the moors,
the greasy spoon, the docks, and the hospital.
Yeah, that's it. I think at this point they are close to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Not intentionally, but just it's where the brightest light is, and Siobhan just stops and catches her breath, and she's like, Mr. Bjornson, that's like something out of those stories he used to tell us every New Year's Eve or every Halloween. What was that? He's like, I have been telling you since you was wee, lass. They weren't just stories. These lands are cursed. There's something rotten in them. It's something wrong. And that's just a symptom of it. She just sort of is catching her breath. What? Forgive my language, but what the fuck was that? Well, in blunt terms, it was a crocodile, man. I don't know what else you want from me here. But in stricter terms, that is something that should not be. That is something that died out there and came back as part of the swamp, corrupted by the swamp, embraced by the swamp. And Siobhan's brain is clicking. She's like, Fred's been missing for almost a week. Fred went out there with Gerard and never came back. And we have to find Gerard. He has to know something about what this thing is. And as she turns, old man Bjornson just puts a hand on her shoulder, like, if Gerard ain't at home, he's probably in danger or dead already, lass. She's like, no one else is gonna have to die tonight. Not if I can stop it.
Good. Talk to me about. Here's what I'm gonna say. Can I, in exchange for the narrative detail of the Crocodile Man earlier, throw in a narrative detail about Gerard that I think kicks this up a notch?
I would love that. Hit me with what you got.
Talk to me about Gerard's place of living, and here's the detail. I'm gonna pitch this to you. You can shoot this down. I would love to propose. This is going to be a little bit of context for what happened, what the spark here is. That there was something that was found in the swamp, right?
Mm.
That Fred and Gerard found something together, and Fred didn't make it out of that swamp alive.
Well, it's such a pretty ring, and it is his birthday after all, so
that
he deserves
feels good.
It. No, we're not going literally with Gollum here. But I think they found a necklace that was that had like crocodile or other reptilian sharp teeth and fangs on it, but they were made of pure gold.
That's great.
And Gerard was like, Fred, if we take this back, we find a pawn shop for this, we can take some time off from the docks. We could maybe buy a better place, one of those houses up on the hill. And Fred's just like, yeah, if we Gerard's like, yeah, if we share it. Yeah, it's a great idea. Fred, I think I saw something over there. Why don't we go take a look?
Mm-hmm.
Picking up a heavy rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, as we get this flash of what happened a little bit, Gerard, you see in the morning paper.
Yep.
Massacre in the back out, like massacre in the inferno, massacre, chaos. And among the names listed is Vinny Truck, the loan shark, the illicit buyer and seller of goods that gave you a very good amount of money for the necklace that you and you alone found in the swamp that night.
Absolutely. He is looking at this newspaper article, realizing A, the docks are on fire, so work's gonna be a little fucked. And B, oh god, that's Vinny. This can't be connected, right? That's ridiculous. Why is that where my brain went? No, it's obviously it's not tied in at all. Can't be.
As you process this, we cut back to Siobhan and Old Man Bjornson as I roll my dice. I rolled a 3 because there was no match between the Queen of Diamonds and the 6 of Clubs. I rolled 3 dice and I rolled a 3, and a 6.
Oh, no.
which means stuff's not going to go well.
Well, when has it ever for these guys so far?
That's true. That's true. This is good horror movie. This is good monster movie vibes because it's not going well for anyone involved. Siobhan and Old Man Bjornson are barreling down the street, right?
Yeah.
And where are you when you see the Crocodile Man make leisurely stalking towards Gerard's house?
They have just gotten into the row housing where the dock workers live, and they notice that this is an era where we have motor cars, probably. This is a Penny Dreadful. They notice that the only house here that doesn't have like a bike or some other rudimentary form of transportation is Gerard's. It's his car that he recently bought. They don't know how he came into that kind of money working at the docks. So they see his car. And as they round the corner to get closer, they see the car, and then they also see the Crocodile Man just like casually walking over it, massive footprints indenting the hood, cripping through the roof of the car as he just sort of crushes it beneath him, and then just is making that horrible rumbling growl.
How is Gerard reacting to hearing that grumble?
Gerard
just outside.
Gerard first he hears the crashing and just grabs a baseball bat and starts heading to the front door, preparing to yell and beat the stuffing out of whoever is messing with his new baby. And then he hears that rumble, and more than that, he feels that rumble as he's reaching for the door. And his eyes just go wide, his pupils shrink to pinpricks, his breath catches, and he's just freezes, and then, for a moment, does nothing. And then as that rumbling gets closer and is almost right on the other side of the door, he just panics and throws a bookcase in front of the door, and just has the bat clutched in his hands and is just, like, trembling breaths, standing there, grabs a chair, throws that in front of the door, grabs a table, throws everything off the table, throws that in front of the door, getting progressively further and further from it. The bat clung like it's almost like a lifeline in front of him.
Let's really make this six the most six that it can be. Where are Siobhan and Bjornson? You're watching from the outside.
Yes.
And we cut back inside and we hear a thump, a crash, a smash against the door, and you are watching this Crocodile Man slam. It's just kind of effortlessly slam its body and like you see the entire wall of the house shake as it does this. It does this 3 or 4 times. Steps back and what do you do?
Siobhan raises her gun, and Old Man Bjornson puts his hand out and just, I told you, it's not gonna do much good. And she's like, he's gonna die if we don't do something. And he just looks at her, and just shakes his head, warning her no. And then she just grits her teeth, shoves his hand off, raises the gun, and fires at the back of this thing.
I think, the bullet like lodges in the hide of the Crocodile Man, but it doesn't necessarily and there's a little spurt of blood, but it does not slow him down at all. And you watch as he walks over, claws out, digs his claws into one side of the car, digs his claws into the other, and throws the car through the wall of the house.
Holy shit, that's awesome. That is baller as fuck.
Gerard gets out. Gerard, because you're a survivor and you're not dead yet, gets out. But, this thing just threw a car at a house. This is, A, some top-tier destruction, and B, holy shit, that's frightening.
So, we have one camera shot of him grabbing the car, and we see him lifting it, and we see Siobhan, we cut to Siobhan and Old Man Bjornson, and for a moment we think he's going to throw the car at them. And then we cut inside the house to Gerard staring at the door, and then his living room next to him, almost behind him, just boom, the car rolls through, smashing through the wall, and he just jumps and screams. And as his home is destroyed, and he sees the shape of the Crocodile Man lurching through, and then he just staggers back. The bat clatters from his numb hands as he turns and just sprints out his back door, shrieking into the morning.
And that is I think we follow Gerard as we end our scene. I feel like that feels like destruction. Does that count as destruction, do you think?
I of a shitty dude's house, but yes, destruction nonetheless.
So I've rolled a 4 on my d6. I'm discarding 2 cards. I'm discarding the 2 of spades and the Queen of Spades, which means you are losing the opportunity to have a sickening scene where characters visit the aftermath of the destruction of the monster, stare chaos in the eyes, and try to hold on to find some way out of this. And mechanically speaking, that means you are losing an opportunity to shuffle discarded cards back into the deck to access them later. Now, here is where I point something crucial out.
Mm-hmm.
We have a queen in the knight's hand. Do we want, and this is up, I'm going to put this in your hand as the survivors. This is a tactical decision. You can save that queen to try and pull a card in later if we think a more valuable card might get discarded. Or we can do a queen for queen exchange in this moment.
I think we hold on to the queen for now.
Okay. Do we want to, and you don't have any, we can pull a jack scene if we want to have a meeting with a trusted friend, but you also tactically don't have any damage to recover from.
Yeah, no, let's hold on to that.
All right, then we'll draw one of these 2 dangerous scene cards. We're going to throw down the 8 of hearts.
Yep.
Draw me the top card of the deck to determine who is the main character of our scene.
Who's in the line of fire? That's the 2 of clubs. That's Siobhan.
That is Siobhan. That is 3 dice for the crocodile man. Fuck. Okay, I know what I want this to be. Siobhan shot the crocodile man. That means that Siobhan's on the crocodile man's shit list.
Oh, absolutely, she is.
Where is Siobhan? You know what? What is Siobhan's game plan after this? You saw Gerard flee the scene. You know that the crocodile man tried to make an attack on Gerard incredibly specifically.
Yeah. I think she's going to steal a bike from a dock worker, one of the dock workers' bikes from outside his house, and try and just chase him down. So as he's running deeper into the actual urban sprawl of our seaside town, Siobhan is riding behind him. She throws herself from the bike to tackle this much larger man to the ground, and he just stares up at her. What the fuck are you doing? You saw that thing? We have to run. She's like, and she just drags him into an alley and shoves him up against the wall. Why was it attacking you? You were in the swamp that night. This is from the swamp. What the fuck did you do? And he just like, this has nothing to do with me. I don't know what the hell is going on. And she just stares at him. 3 people died last night. Maybe more. And it came after you specifically. I know you were there the night Fred disappeared. What is this? What happened out there? And he just, you wouldn't understand. Try me. It was, listen, I was never going to make it out of the docks. It's a shit job. And the end of it is you don't retire from this job. You work until you're worn out and then you just get discarded. I'm not going to live that life. I deserve something better. So we found this thing in the swamp, right? Pure gold. And listen, Fred wasn't exactly sunshine and roses. You know that as well as I do. We both knew who he was. We both knew what he was about. And before he can finish, they hear the rumble again, this time from above them.
Absolutely. So I've rolled my 3 dice. The monster is attacking. I rolled a 1, a 4, and a 5. So we are, somebody is getting badly injured here. I don't think there's an innocent life to take here. I don't think this is going to I want to deal some damage specifically.
Yes.
And I'm going to, we're leaning in. Here's what we're doing here at this moment. How does Gerard get away?
I think when this thing leaps down from the rooftop and lunges, Gerard grabs Siobhan and like shoves her at it.
Mm-hmm. It drops down. Siobhan is thrown into the Crocodile Man. There is a fight. I think several more bullets are blasted into the Crocodile Man. He is impervious to them, even as blood is dripping. And I think, I am going to say, I think that what happens is, the Crocodile Man grabs Siobhan, throws her into a wall, and stops for a moment, takes out a finger, retracts the claw from it, and you see with like a wince and a rumble, taps his shoulder 1, taps his side 2, taps his leg 3, taps his other side 4, pulls out that single claw again, walks up, grabs the I think this is a moment here. Like Siobhan aims the gun at the Crocodile Man, grabs the gun with his unclawed hand, and I'm picturing like an old revolver. Did you have a different gun in mind?
No, I had an old revolver in mind, absolutely.
Perfect. I think grabs it and effortlessly deloads it. Like flips out the gun and dumps the remaining bullets out of it.
Oh, that's cold as fuck. I love that.
Has skill with gun.
Yeah.
Unloads the gun, throws it aside, unfurls, stab 1, retract the thing. We hear a blood-curdling scream, stab 2, and stabs her 4 times for each of the 4 bullets, and then consciously leaves her alive, and, quietly, stops rumbling.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to propose that she wakes up in the hospital, having been taken there.
I have a proposal as well. Just, first of all, this has vibes of that scene of the alien inches from Ripley's face sort of thing. But as the last time she stabs it, it stabs her. It leans over and she's Fred, and he just stops.
He stops. He looks at his hand. We get the classic monster looks at his hands, and she lurches forward, spits up some blood. Yep. He picks her up, rests her on his shoulder, and Gerard watches the Crocodile Man carry off the body of Siobhan, and then Siobhan wakes up in a hospital bed, and there's just a report of somebody laid you outside the door of the hospital. We didn't see who it was, but you're pretty badly stabbed up. We patched you up as best we could.
And she's immediately pushing them off and trying to get out of it. She's like, I have to get back out there.
You're not in any condition to try and chase. We understand you. We understand, but you're not in the condition. We really need to keep you here for a couple days until your wounds heal up.
Am I being detained?
No, you're not being detained, but
you're being off, and she's leaving.
But you're being a goddamn fool is what you're being as she limps off, stitched up wounds, barely holding together. And I am writing down the damage, stab wounds.
Yes. She's turning more and more into an action hero, and I love it.
And now what will happen in any subsequent roll where Siobhan's stab wounds may become a complicating factor, the monster will roll an extra dice.
Excellent.
This game fucking rips.
This slaps so hard, dude.
I got a lot of things to say about the design of this game as the person that wrote a game mechanically that this game is mechanically based on, and that my game is mechanically based on a third. Having seen the chain, there's a lot of things I'm watching play out as the designer that I'm geeking out about in the background.
Listen, if you made a game and then someone else does a hack of your game, that means you've made it.
It's the dream. This is the greatest
Absolutely.
feeling in the I'm watching the little differences in mechanics play out, and I'm a child at Christmas. This is a treat for me.
Yes.
All right.
And as someone who's not familiar with either game, I'm just loving it for the first time. I need to buy this and always wear the mask. Anyone can wear the mask, rather.
It's there. It's a good game. I personally will recommend it. I think it's a great game.
I'm on my
Okay,
superhero shit anyway. I just binged Spider-Man 2 for the PS5, so anything superhero I'm gonna devour right now.
I mean, Anyone Can Wear the Mask is explicitly Spider-Man, the role-playing game. It's the vibe is good.
Say no more. What's up, Danger?
What's our next? Let me look at the time. I'm thinking maybe 1 or 2 more scenes, and then we'll have a climax scene. I think feels good.
Yes, we haven't gotten to our waitress yet, so I hope we draw her.
We haven't gotten to our waitress. Well, let's draw a card. Let's draw a card and see what happens.
All right. Trust in the heart of the card. That's the old man.
You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We haven't gotten to our waitress yet. I'm going to hack the game live on the air. I think I'm going to say let's draw until we get a heart. And we'll pull whatever card that heart is, because I want to see the waitress in play. Or we can just decide that yeah, let's draw until we get a heart, I think is the way to go.
It's like Uno. We have to keep going. Oh my god.
Hearts are, there we go. Okay, we got the 10 of hearts.
Okay, good.
So pull that here.
Yep.
Pull this here.
Do we put these back in the deck? What do we do?
Yeah, let's put these back in the deck and then we'll shuffle the deck. I think I want to see the waitress in play. I want a scene with the waitress.
Yes.
So we'll flip this. We'll put these on top here and we'll shuffle the deck. Okay. Let me roll to see what our... All right, we have the 5 of diamonds. So this is the first time that our monster has not been at full strength. No, that's not true. The first scene, they were particularly weak in every sense that they've been on a goddamn rampage.
Yeah, they've been on demon time.
Okay, so where do we see our waitress? Where do we pick up with Marie?
I think Marie is at work right now.
Okay.
She's near the end of her shift as we're getting closer to actual day. And she's still a little shaken up by seeing I would say probably Vinny actually run into her restaurant bleeding and demanding help, and her seeing this shape just waiting outside across the street, just the lights reflecting off of these eyes like these 2 dots in the night staring back. And she eventually, Vinny just when she wasn't proving to be much help, just said some unkind words and ran out the back door. And then when she looked across the street, the shape was gone. So she's still a little rattled, especially having heard that he's dead. And then Gerard comes in. And so she's just like, oh, hey, good morning. I expected you to be on shift already. And he just immediately goes behind the counter. She's like, Gerard, you can't come back here, hon. And then it's just growing through drawers trying to find knives. And she's like, what? Gerard, what are you doing? He's like, you've seen it, right? You've seen it. The swamp man, the crocodile. Is that what that was? Yes, that's what that was, man. It's some freak from the swamp come to kill a bunch of people. And it's after me right now. Listen. You've always done right by me, Marie. You're a good egg. Honestly, I think I should have taken you away from this place. She's like, let's not get carried away. Shut up! We gotta stick together right now, Marie, you and me. Understand? Gerard, you're scaring me. What is going on? And he's like, it's a monster, and it's gonna burn this whole town down. I've seen what it's capable of. I've seen what it's done, and it's gonna kill us all. We gotta get going. That's all I have for this scene from me right now.
And I think at that moment you look out the window and see the shape, right? Like the shape is there.
Yeah.
And it's just looming again, exactly the way that it was that night. And it's perfectly still, just waiting.
And she's just, Gerard. And he just looks at it, remembers the rumble, remembers the house, and he's not sure why he feels like this place will somehow be safer, but he does. He just pushes Marie into the kitchen. She staggers in. The cook in the kitchen is like, hey, what the hell is he doing back here? And Marie's just like, there's a crocodile man outside. And he's just, Marie, what the hell are you talking about? You've been drinking on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear the rumble again, and the silverware shakes, the window shakes as the door opens, and we hear the bell ding, 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 and these heavy thump, thump, thump footsteps.
And let me roll my dice. I think that like finally, let's see, we got a 3, and there it is. There's that 6.
There it is again. God damn.
This is wild. This crocodile man is lighting it up.
He's got a body count.
He has a body count, is the thing.
Stack 'em high. All right. I think the cook's probably gonna die here.
That feels right. The cook. Yeah, tell me what the cook does that backfires horribly.
So he goes into the kitchen, and the cook, do they have deep fryers at this age? Probably not.
Sure. Yeah.
He has like a vat of grease that he's frying something in. And as this thing walks in, he's like, "Hey, that's the outdoor. You don't walk in that one," and flings the grease on the thing, which hurts. It doesn't necessarily deal damage, but it hurts the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Gerard just grabs Marie by the wrist and drags her out the back door running as the cook grabs a heavy pan and is bashing the crocodile with it. And then he just eventually catches the wrist with the pan, just snarls and just jaws opening wider as the cook just is like defiant in the face, because somehow this cook is just the most badass man here.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "I'm gonna cut your tail up and make some gator nuggets. It's gonna be on the weekly special menu, you son of a..." And then the crocodile just locks its jaws around his face.
Oh. And yeah, we watch the death. Knocks over the vat. The place lights up. I'm calling for destruction. I drew a card, and oh no.
It's just getting worse.
I don't know how to phrase else. Oh no. I have drawn the Ace of Hearts, which means that we are time for a climax scene.
Oh my god. Oh man. I think this is going to be a time real quick before we do the climax. I'm going to use that queen to do the healing scene with the trusted friend.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So Siobhan is staggering down the street. She's heading towards the diner. She hears the screaming and the chaos, and she just stops and winces at her side, and then she just feels a tap on her shoulder. And it's the wooden cane, and old man Bjornsson just sighs, "You're stubborn, lass, you know that?" She's like, "If I don't stop it, who will?" And he just looks at her. "Well, if you're dead set on not listening to your elders, lass, the least you can do is let me help you." He's like, "Now, I've been around a long time, and this modern medicine thing, I honestly think it's a fad. It's not gonna catch on. What you need is some good old poultices. That'll treat you. That'll shake you up." And he just starts. He pulls her aside into somewhere where they're safe for a moment, and starts treating her injuries. It's like, ever since you were a wee girl, you've always been headstrong, just like your pa. You know that? Like your ma, too, for that matter. You come from good stock, lass. Your folks, they'd be awful proud if they saw how much you were throwing yourself at this. They'd call you a damn fool, which you are, which I agree with, but they'd be proud. Now, lass." And she just sits there and nods quietly. We don't know what happened to her parents. We're not going to establish that, but these words mean a lot. And especially having someone who seems to be in a position of authority actually believe in her also seems to mean a lot. And he just like, "If you're going to go for this thing, you're not going to do much damage if you keep on just shooting at scales. Now you got to find the soft bits. That's where you can deal some damage. And you got to remember, this thing's a beast, but it's still got the mind of a man. And you can use that. Lass, if you make it out of this, I'll tell you the whole story sometime about this land and why it's like this. But it's a whole mess of time that we ain't got in a moment. And if you don't make it, well, just know that I'll be thinking of you. and I'll be drinking to your memory tonight. Now go be a damn fool hero.
I like it. I love it a lot. I think that, like, you know, we're seeing the fight scene with the short order cook, like, lay all of this out, right?
Yes.
And I think what is unfolding, you can roll. I'm going to set aside our climax card, but other than that, you can choose to shuffle any one card in our discard pile back into the deck.
All right. Which card do you feel would be the most useful here? I'm gonna.
Queens are like everything except I think Queen is the only face card that we've got, which
All
is
right.
going to which would give us the ability to shuffle more cards, and everything else is the monster fucks our shit up. So I think the Queen is the card to run
Yeah,
with.
that's it. That's what we're putting back in there.
Okay, then here's what I'm going to do.
Praying for a good card.
I have pulled the Ace of Hearts, which is going to be our climax scene.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's going to happen in this climax scene, but because this is a proper cliffhanger, I am going to now draw also a series of cards, and there it is right there, until I draw a king, so that we can have one final scene afterwards.
Yes.
We are having a climax scene. This is the scene where Marie confronts the monster.
Marie or Siobhan?
Well, actually, you know what? We've got two aces here. I'm gonna force you to make a terrible decision. We have two aces. We have two aces available to pull from. Siobhan or Marie is not making it out of here.
Oh God, the tragedy of poor innocent Marie being just one more casualty of Gerard's selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna hurt. We only had her for one brief scene. And I'm imagining in the actual film, she had a lot more for us to grow to really love her.
Yeah.
We see her rapport, we see the way she listens and how kind she is, how patient she is, and how she's got this big dream of someday finding her own restaurant, making her own restaurant, and having her own life outside of this town. And she's never gonna get that.
So
Because Gerard is such a fucking asshole.
Gerard's an asshole. He's so what happens is Marie is confronted. Marie is cornered. Gerard and Marie are cornered by the crocodile man as Siobhan runs after, gun in hand, just in time to see how is Marie's blood on Gerard's hands?
So here's the way I see this playing out. Marie, as the monster comes around, Marie realizes the depth of what's going on. She's like, Fred? And he just stops and looks at her. She's like, Fred, I know you're still in there somewhere, buddy. 2 scrambled eggs, American cheese mixed in, bacon, and a healthy side of wheat toast, almost blackened, right?
He gives a nod.
She's like, you always told me about your brother out east. You told me about your little nephew. You know, I don't know what happened to you, but we can fix this, okay? Fred, I know you're still in there, and I know you can hear me. And I know you want to see that little boy again. I know you want to see your brother again. I know that deep down you're still a good man, ordering that same breakfast every morning, drinking that glass of orange juice, and she's just smiling, terrified tears running down her face as he just sort of, as she's like trying to reach out and like calm him down.
He's walking up, he's putting his hands on Marie's shoulders. Siobhan has turned the corner.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Yeah. She's just ready to go. She's like, it's gonna be okay, Fred, okay? You don't have to do this. And then Gerard takes this moment to take a large, heavy metal thing and smack the crocodile man with it, thinking this is just a distraction. He's like, die, you fucking freak! And this enrages the monster, and he immediately just snaps Marie's neck with his maw. Mm-hmm. Is how I see this going.
And I think I see this as I think that's how it is. I think that Siobhan sees this happen and functionally, like, Gerard sees it, realizes what has happened, runs off, and we have a discovery scene.
Yes.
As there is Gerard. I love a man is the real monster, and I really do love that.
I feel like once he realizes, like, once he lunges, he attacks, and then he stops, he looks down at Marie's shuddering body, tears still rolling down her face, and he just clenches his clawed hands and just lets out this furious roaring bellow that almost sounds like a human scream of rage, but deeper and more raw and just primal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, and so with this, we have a discovery scene. Discovery scene is when we finally lay out the weakness of the monster. This is our best chance to survive. Draw the top card off of the deck to tell us which survivor is going to have this interaction to figure out the weakness of the monster.
It's gotta be Siobhan, right? Yep.
It's Siobhan. Perfect.
Hell yes. That's 10 of clubs, baby, for you following along at home.
Siobhan has watched this go down. The crocodile, visibly mournful, lets out like a big rumble and like lurches back into the water. And what happens now is in the moment immediately after, there is a hand on Siobhan's shoulder. And we meet a seasoned outsider, someone who has faced similar monsters before and lived to tell the tale.
Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing.
It's gotta be Hugh Jack, gotta be.
It's legally distinct from Van Helsing, but it is in fact Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, for sure. You know what it is? I am pulling this in because I tweeted this recently, and this is a belief that I firmly stand by. Van Helsing, Hugh Jackman should not have been Van Helsing in Van Helsing, which is not to say he should not have been the star of that movie. But if you want to take a guy from Dracula and turn him into a cool James Bond who shoots Draculas, there's a guy in Dracula who's a cool guy who shoots Draculas. Why was Hugh Jackman from Oklahoma not the cowboy from Dracula?
Like, seriously, you made him the old man who's just like, these Draculas are dreadful, you should stay away from them, lad. I don't know why I'm Scottish instead of whatever I am in the book.
You should make him the cowboy.
Yes.
So this is
yeehaw, you blood-sucking sumbitch.
This is hold on. This is Quincy Morris's long-lost grandson, William Morris. William Morris, is that a cigarette brand? Is that?
I don't know. Well, William Morris, I'm good.
No, it's a poet. Okay. There's a different, this is William Morris. This is the long-lost grandson of Quincy Morris, the cowboy from Dracula.
Yes. Fuck yes.
Has shown up. Looks like you're hunting one hell of a big game.
Yeah, you could say that. Who are you?
How does Old Man Bjornsson know?
Old
William
Man Bjornsson croaks from the corner. She's like, Biddy Morris, I thought I told you not to curse my doorstep ever again. You. How the hell are you, lad? And he's gonna.
You old son of a bitch! You almost had me there for a second.
Of course. No, this lass she's hunting. We got us a cursed crocodile man returning from the grave.
Crocodile man. Woohoo! All right, looks like we got ourselves a proper swamp hunt. I thought my swamp hunting days were behind me.
Yeah, I thought you left those days down on the bayou, lad. But no, up here in New England, even still, we got us a crocodile man.
It ain't quite the same flavor as down south, but it'll do. We could, you give me a monster to hunt, I'm a happy man. And I think
now,
he leans
lass,
down.
This here is Biddy Morris. He's a good lad. Fool, same kind of fool you are.
And I think he leans down and kind of like, he leans down. sees a slight wince in Siobhan's eyes. I'm guessing them's stab wounds.
Yep. They were very deliberate.
Uh-huh. I'm guessing, well, you're alive, which I think makes you different than any of them fellers I was reading about in the paper, which makes me think that maybe you had some kind of personal connection with this thing from the fact before it was a thing when it was a living man before he was wrought by the curse of whatever horror lives out in that swamp that turned him into that there crocodile man.
We grew up together. He was a bit of a bullheaded jackass as a boy, but you know, when you're low on options for friends and you're both on the outside looking in, you find each other. He was a fool with he was a bit of an idiot, more muscle than brain, and I always had my nose stuck in a book, but we looked out for each other.
So, we think we got a handle on what turned this fella into this thing?
It's your standard bullshit. Necklace found in the swamp. Fellas got jealous over one another. Boom, one of them murders the other. He sinks into the swamp, and then the swamp sinks into him, and he comes back angry.
Well, so I'm going to throw this to you because I think that I think Billy reveals that I rolled my dice here because our suits match. I rolled 2 dice. I rolled a 5 and a 6, which means the truth of the weakness is laid bare, and the survivors have a way of using it. The 2 options that pop into my head for a weakness are either bury the necklace back in the swamp or bury Gerard back in the swamp. What do we think it is?
I think I love the idea that they have to go back to where it began. They have to bring Gerard to the swamp, and they have to.
You know what?
Yes,
I'm gonna Jeff Storm. I think I love that. They have to bring Gerard back to the swamp. I'm gonna Jeff Stormer it. They have to bring Gerard and the necklace back to the swamp, and Gerard has to show true, honest repentance. It is the sense of like, it is not enough for you to say the words, that you have to honestly face what you did and own that and admit the terrible thing that you committed here in front of your peers, burying the necklace back into the earth, and only then will the spirit of the crocodile man slumber.
Absolutely. I love this. So I think that's where I think Siobhan does eventually track him down and at gunpoint make him go to the swamp. So they're out there. I think Gerard probably took the necklace from Vinny's corpse.
Probably, yeah. I think Gerard's got the necklace.
Yep.
We get a whole chase scene through the city. It's one of those things where now that we know that man is the real monster, we get at least one sequence of the crocodile man in a not completely monstrous light, like hunting his prey. They eventually drag Gerard back to the swamp. Does he show repentance?
It's gonna take a bit, but mostly it's just Siobhan, like just verbally ripping him apart. Like he's just like, well, I did what any man would have done. Like, what would you have done? She's like, I wouldn't have gotten innocent people killed. Marie is dead. She was 19 years old. She had a future ahead of her. And Fred, maybe Fred wasn't the smartest. Maybe he was occasionally a selfish jackass. But he had his heart in the right place. He didn't deserve to die for your profit, you selfish asshole. Two other men died. Who knows who else he killed in the city? That's on you. That is going to follow you forever, and I don't think however much money you're going to get with that necklace is going to be enough to make that go away. Maybe you'll get away from here. Maybe you'll get away from the crocodile man. But you'll never get away from what you did. And he is just staring at his hand, and he's just like, I wanted a better life for myself. And she's like, so did Marie. Where's she? And he just, for the first time, we see the weight of what he's done actually land on him. And he just drops to his knees in the muck.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes, his mind flashing back to the image of Marie with her eyes locked on his as she died. And he just starts scooping up muck with his hands and just while saying over and over again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
And our final beat. Our final moment here. Well, we're going to play through our epilogue, but like I think what finally unfolds here is I'm pulling a Drag Me to Hell here.
Yep.
The ending of Drag Me to Hell being the greatest ending to a horror movie of all time. The Crocodile Man emerges from the muck, places a hand on Gerard's shoulder, grabs the other hand by his throat, disembowels Gerard, drags him into the mud. There is a blood-curdling, like, monstrous scream of drowning and slaughter as Siobhan and Old Man Bjornsson and Billy Morris watch this unfold. And we are left standing in the mud of the swamp. So, talk to me about what the final thing that we see of our two survivors is.
Well, first of all, I think Siobhan, for a moment, reaches for her gun to try and help him. And then for a moment, the Crocodile Man's eyes lock on hers. And she sees Fred behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And she could feel him say, like, this is how this has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Not out loud, but like just with a look. And she just looks at him, gives a little nod, and Gerard's like, no. And then that's the disemboweling happens. He gets dragged under the mud. We see blood welling up as the mud turns from brown to an ugly, ugly red. And then, if I might steal a line for Billy, he's just, well, I guess that's that. That's a wrap, folks.
Well,
yeah, and Siobhan, I think he's gonna offer Siobhan a place on the road with him.
I like that. I really do like that a lot. I think that's good. I think it's a vibe. Yeah. I think that offers a spot in his car. Siobhan climbs in. Old Man Bjornsson is left alone on the street, wandering cryptic nothings. And
I don't think she goes.
Oh.
I think he offers her a place and she's like, Bjornsson, you said this swamp is cursed, right? I did. That means this might happen again, right? Oh, there's always something that's gonna happen with this swamp, lass. Told you I'd tell you the whole story. And she looks at him and she's like, I appreciate the offer, but I think I'm still needed here.
And he climbs in his car. We hit a long shot of that swamp, and that is game.
Hell yes.
That was great.
That was badass.
I'm really happy with that. That's a good vibe.
This game fucking rips. Thank you so much for having me on and playing, and thank you for being so fun to bounce off of.
I mean, that's what I love doing. This is my jam. This game rules. I have so many thoughts about this game from a mechanical standpoint. I'll probably sit in front of a microphone and just gush on Patreon for a while, but like, God, I fucking love this game. I'm really happy. This is sick.
I'm a true believer after this. This was fantastic.
I'm so thrilled. I'm over the moon. Thank you so much for playing this with me. This was a delight.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a very good time. This was everything I hoped it would be.
I'm so glad. Real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Green Mountain Mysteries is the Dresden Files role-playing game podcast I am running with the Pocket Podcast Network. We are about to wrap our final episode of the first series as of recording. I play Albine Graves, gunslinging monster hunter tap. Not at all like what happened in this game, honest. You could also hear me on season 1 of Otherwhere, where I played with the player for whom Siobhan, our monster hunter, is named. You can find me at tomthetabletopguy.card.co if you feel like playing an RPG with me sometime. Yeah, that's what I'm all about.
Fantastic. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for a really wonderful game. I'm over the moon. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take a future me. Thanks, Past Me, and thanks again to Thom for coming on the show. I love good horror stories. I love the way that we took that narrative and ran with it. Like, that was such a perfect horror movie brought to life. I was over the moon with that experience. This game fucking ripped. I'm so happy with it. Thank you again for coming on the show. Be sure to pick up your own copy of Fear the Taste of Blood at ratwavegamehouse.itch.io or check the show notes for more information. Also check the show notes for links to Green Mountain Mysteries, the Dresden Files actual play podcast that Thom appears on, as well as everything else Thom is working on. And be sure to follow Thom on Twitter, as long as that's still a fucking website, at AlBeyondGraves. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/PartyOfOnePodcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/PartyOfOnePodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/PartyOfOneDiscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/PartyOfOneMerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.